Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Anupama, Professor at Department of Economics, Punjabi University, Patiala. I am going to talk about the module Development of Urban Regeneration Policy from Population, Urbanization and Poverty. So students, we are going to discuss mainly about history of urban regeneration and its importance in the current context. We will also discuss about the social and cultural concerns of urban regeneration policies along with their sustainability. Urban transformation is an international phenomenon caused by a range of factors including urbanization, migration trends, globalization and poverty. Urban regeneration is often presented as a natural process through which the urban environment undergoes transformation. As the years pass, transformations take place, allowing the city to constantly rejuvenate itself in a natural and organic way. Main purpose of urban regeneration is to deliberately change the urban environment and to inject new vitality through planned adjustment of existing areas to respond to present and future requirements for urban living and working. For them, the fundamental objective of urban regeneration is the application of several principles resulting in the revitalization of any or all portions of the urban structure which are not fulfilling the functions for which they were designed. Urban regeneration generally applies to inner city areas centrally located in historical districts, including non-residential as well as residential land uses. So, this module aims to throw light on a brief history of urban regeneration in developing countries, main approaches to urban regeneration, critical issues of urban regeneration policy, the social concerns of regeneration, the cultural concerns of regeneration, and social sustainability of regeneration policy. Let us first discuss about a brief history of regeneration. With the passage of time, old cities are in a constant process of regeneration. However, not until the late 19th and early 20th century did relatively coordinated efforts on part of the local governments, reform groups, and business interests arise whose intent was to eliminate the physical manifestations of urban decline. The regeneration of Paris by Haussmann is thought to be the first large-scale urban regeneration project implemented. However, the United States was among the first countries to develop specific national programs of urban regeneration. The problems of deteriorating urban neighborhoods has been recognized in the United States since the mid-19th century, and over the years, major efforts have been made to counteract decay and to rejuvenate cities throughout the country. Looking at the history of most of the economies, it seems that the regeneration programs around the world has three main elements. These are slum prevention through neighborhood conservation and housing code enforcement. Number 2, rehabilitation of structures and neighborhoods. And number 3, clearance and redevelopment of structures and neighborhoods. These components can be observed from this figure. The criticisms of urban regeneration program were many. Its application lead to the destruction of the homes and neighborhoods of the poor and minorities, and to the displacement of the small business and demolition of inhabitable housing. Also, it directed too much investment to central business districts and not enough to positive actions in the neighborhoods, and gave too little attention to social concerns. But still, urban regeneration is an essential part of dynamic urban policies, as this is also crying need of changing time. Hence, it is important to explore each of these aspects of urban regeneration. Now we can discuss urban regeneration in developing countries. In developing countries, the process of urban regeneration is still relatively new. Efforts are generally concentrated on solving the problems of urban slums, where from 30 to 60% of urban population resides, which are considered the fastest growing portion of the third world cities. Before the 1980s, the main approach to urban regeneration in developing countries was in the form of squatter eradication and relocation of the population to low-cost housing projects. However, in later years, a series of unconventional strategies such as slum and squatter upgrading and sites and services began to replace the previous clearance policies. Most governments started to acknowledge the socio-economic impacts of slum demolition, while substandard housing, including scatter shanties, was recognized as part of the housing stock. Community upgrading appeared as a way of improving living conditions in informal settlements. These economies are moderating their policies and adopting the participatory approach to introduce basic services, sites, and house improvement works, upgradation by improving the infrastructure and legalizing land tenure as an integral part of the urban regeneration policy. Today, upgrading remains the most sensible approach to resolving the problems of informal settlements in third world cities, although clearance is still commonly used. Thus, the urban governments in developing as well as developed countries under the urban regeneration are gradually evolving from a demolition and reconstruction approach to a softer, more socially oriented approach, which concentrates on the renovation of existing structures. However, for developing economies in the globalized world, the urban regeneration policy has more of an economic goal. The globalization trends have led to the restructuring of the economies all across the world. The cities undergoing through these restructuring processes have experienced systematic de-densification and decline of core areas, particularly in industrial and port cities. In response, local governments are challenged to restructure the urban fabric of their cities and to diversify their local economies. Cities compete to attract new economic sectors and seek to recapture lost fiscal resources through the redevelopment of declining areas and brownfield industrial sites to service these new economies. The ability of the cities in developing countries to access investment from the new economy remains relatively untested. It is clear, though, that the international relocation of manufacturing will continue to place demands upon these cities to provide large tracts of land with high quality infrastructure to support industrial production, with consequent pressures linked to urban sprawl and environmental sustainability. Now we can discuss main approaches to urban regeneration. Generally speaking, every city passes through 5 stages, or it can be termed as life cycle of the city. We can see these phases in figure 2. These include the conception phase, the birth phase, the developing or growing phase, the maturity or optimum phase, and Finally, the decline phase. The conception stage is the inspirational stage or the thinking stage of the need for an establishment of a town. Government could be the originator or prime mover of an idea to build or establish a new town. In early historical records, we can find that many of the cities were established by the kings. The second stage is the birth stage. This is considered the bringing into reality of a settlement of dream. The third stage is the developing or growing stage. With increase in economic activities, population via migration, and natural increase, towns keep increasing until it gets to the optimal level. The fourth stage is the maturity or optimum stage. This is the stage where a city tends to match its resources with the population to meet most of its functions. Immediately after this stage comes the decline stage. This is a stage at which diminishing returns seem to start setting in. It is the most terrible stage in urban development where diverse problems start manifesting, such as urban blight, population increase and excess rural urban migration, obsolete and insufficient infrastructure, unemployment and poverty, low per capita income, insecurity, and urban violence, among others. This stage puts pressures for urban regeneration. At the first international seminar on urban regeneration in August 1958, the three principles of urban regeneration were identified as redevelopment, consisting of demolition and reconstruction, rehabilitation, improvement of the original structures and conservation, preservation of historical monuments, and generally not with residential areas. Thus, the possible approaches to urban regeneration can therefore be identified as redevelopment, wherein a neighborhood is rebuilt anew, rehabilitation, wherein the existing structures are preserved and upgraded, and integration, a combination of the first two approaches. Each approach can involve the rehousing of the population on the original site or its relocation to another part of the city. So let us talk about redevelopment. Redevelopment consists of the removal of existing buildings and the reuse of cleared land for the implementation of new projects. This approach is applicable to areas in which buildings are seriously deteriorating conditions and have no preservation value, or in which the arrangement of buildings are such that the area cannot provide satisfactory living conditions. In such cases, demolition and reconstruction of whole blocks or of small sections is often thought to be the only solution to ensure future comfort and safety of the residents. For developers, redevelopment presents maximum profit through the sale of new centrally located units. For local governments, this approach represents maximum use of land, higher floor area ratio, and has the advantage of introducing higher income groups and commercial activities to the city center, which increases their tax revenues. It also leads to higher population density and improved services and infrastructure, which is highly desirable for modernizing inner city areas. However, this approach may carry heavy social and environmental costs. The demolition of architectural environments is probably the most serious consequence of the redevelopment approach. It can bring about the sacrifice of a community's cultural heritage and the destruction of viable neighborhoods, depriving people of valuable housing resources, which in many cases will serve a useful function. Redevelopment generally involves the relocation of the original population to another part of the city. Even when the residents are rehoused on the same site after its redevelopment, the transformation of the neighborhood beyond recognition has inevitable psychological impacts upon the community. Redevelopment leads to the destruction of badly needed housing units, and it may not prevent slums from reappearing in other parts of the city. It also contributes to the impoverishment of the original residents by reduction of job opportunities, as resettlement areas are usually located outside of the city proper. However, in many developing countries, redevelopment through slum clearance and reconstruction is still regarded as the only viable way to improve housing conditions and modernizing inner city areas. Rehabilitation. Rehabilitation, often termed conservation or preservation, can be defined as opposite of redevelopment. It is based on preserving, repairing, or restoring the natural and man-made environments of existing neighborhoods. Rehabilitation is applicable to areas where buildings are generally in structurally sound conditions but have deteriorated because of neglected maintenance. It takes advantage of the existing housing stock and adopt as valuable resource and adapts old houses to present-day life and acceptable standards by providing modern facilities. Rehabilitation strategies recognize that the limited availability of funds for new construction and the serious housing shortage make the option of destroying already existing housing appear both unaffordable and imprudent. It recognizes the value of old neighborhoods, and by preserving what is unique, ancient, and specifically local, it can also contribute to the development of the tourism industry and stimulate the economy. From the standpoint of time and cost, rehabilitation is a sensible solution to the problem of neighborhood regeneration. Concerning the impacts on population, residential rehabilitation can take place in two distinctive ways. These are gentrification and incumbent upgrading. Now we can discuss each of these ways in brief. Gentrification is defined as the process by which middle and upper class people move to a neighborhood attracted by its proximity to central business districts and replace the previous working class inhabitants. Through the process of incumbent upgrading, the residents remain in place and invest in their own time, money, and energy into refurbishing their housing and improving their social conditions. In developing countries, upgrading generally refers to a comprehensive developmental approach wherein the original population remains on the site and incrementally upgrades the neighborhoods with or without public assistance. However, rehabilitation is often perceived as a complex and time-consuming process which is more difficult to implement than redevelopment. It requires a high degree of social organization and social responsibility, as well as a total reorganization of the housing process. It is sometimes resisted by developers who see it as an infringement on the free enterprise and a barrier to large-scale redevelopment. In many instances, old houses are so dilapidated that it is unrealistic to attempt to upgrade them and to modern standards. The introduction of new infrastructure to old and dense neighborhoods can also be a difficult task. Integration. The integration views rehabilitation and redevelopment as complementary forces and combines the best aspects of both approaches. It consists of rehabilitation of what can realistically be saved, combined with reconstruction of new buildings in place of those beyond the reach of feasible rehabilitation. Integration is considered today to be the most acceptable way to regenerate old neighborhoods. It allows for flexible project implementation which can preserve the traditional urban environment and its human scale while achieving respectable densities. It respects the social order of the community by rehousing the majority of the original residents on the site and invites mass participation. Integration results in the creation of rich environments through the integration of new buildings within the existing neighborhoods and allows for the development of a new form of contemporary architecture with local characteristics, enriching the appearance of the old city while maintaining its identity. However, for many developers and local authorities, integration remains a time-consuming process, less profitable than redevelopment with mass housing. Now we can discuss some critical issues of urban regeneration policy. Urban regeneration policy has following major issues. These are urban identity, environmental concerns, social concerns, and the cultural concerns, which are mutually influenced by each other. Now we can discuss these concerns one by one. The first concern is that of urban identity, a frequent challenge faced in the sensitive reshaping of an already existing environment is discovering and preserving its own visible structure and drawing out its inherent image and identity. Urban regeneration modifies not only the physical form of the urban environment but also transforms the way in which it is perceived and experienced, and the psychological and emotional relationships between humans and urban places. It destroys the natural diversity of the city. Diversity and continuity appear to be essential components of the urban environment, which must be preserved in the process of urban regeneration. However, in recent years, the emergence of a global model has been threatening local identity, integrity, and authenticity, and cities around the world have become increasingly uniform. The second one are environmental concerns. The preservation of natural and man-made environments is another important issue which should not be overlooked in the process of regeneration. Old buildings, monuments, parks, and neighborhoods, as well as the old pattern of the city, which gives the city its unique character, are necessary to maintain the city's vitality. The preservation of the historic core, which provides future generations with stimulating ideas from their cultural heritage, is essential for the development of modern cities. Over the last few years, there has been a heightened appreciation of the value of preserving old sections of the urban fabric. For more than 100 years, writers on the architecture have returned to the pre-industrial town for models for a saner, more organic society. However, preservation must be handled with caution, and it requires a deep understanding of the nature of the city. A misinterpretation of the process by which cities evolve through time can lead to the creation of sanitized environments or the reconstruction of an imaginary and more acceptable past. Moreover, the environmental issues faced today may not find appropriate solutions in the traditional artifacts of the city. Now we can discuss about the social concerns. Concerns for the physical and psychological well-being of the individuals and the community are essential for sensitive regeneration. Urban regeneration can either involve re-accommodation of the original population on the site after its regeneration or its transfer to another part of the city through relocation. The relocation generally occurs in large-scale housing projects built in isolated environments and far from the city center, where access to facilities like schools and health services is very limited. For the population, displacement carries not only financial cost but social and emotional cost as well. Urban regeneration often leads to the dissolution of urban communities and the loss of proximity to friends and relatives. People need to know that their communities will continue to exist and be able to provide for the present and future needs of themselves and their children. In general, new social links are not easily formed in large-scale mass housing projects. The displacement from familiar locations translates into drastic changes in lifestyles and requires long-term readjustment, which can cause serious psychological trauma, especially for the most vulnerable portion of the population, that is young children and the elderly. The loss of contact with a familiar environment to which people have developed strong emotional attachments may occur in both the cases when residents are displaced and when familiar environments are radically altered by revitalizing activities. However, the high economic, social, and emotional cost paid by evicted residents is generally considered as unavoidable byproduct of progress and a necessary consequence of modernization. While the governments can intervene to compensate victims for part of the economic cost of displacement, the psychological costs are less easily mitigated. But relocation remains an important and unavoidable aspect of the process of regeneration and should be given special attention. The cultural concerns. The preservation of a unique urban culture is another critical issue in the process of urban regeneration. Culture has been defined as the whole social mode of life or the mode of life of the people in general and as the collective expression of shared history, traditions, values, and ways of life. The continuity of a culture is carried in its architecture, urban design, and planning, as well as in its community life. Urban culture can therefore be said to be closely related to the evolution of the relationship between the urban built environment and its social structure. The disappearance of the physical and social manifestations of a particular culture would lead to the decline of this culture. Just as much as the preservation of the environment and community can be important for that of the local culture, culture is itself essential in their development. It is often the local culture which defines what is special and unique about a group of people or a place, giving them their identity and making them last over generations. It is therefore important to ensure that in the process of regeneration, the urban culture is not destroyed, but stimulated and promoted through a conscious transformation of the urban environment. Now we can discuss social sustainability as a holistic approach. Sustainability in general is termed as a synergy between the environment and the basic needs of the individuals. However, it also encompasses a range of socio-economic and cultural aspects. Therefore, in the perspective of urban regeneration, the social sustainability is more important. Social sustainability blends traditional social policy areas and principles such as equity and health with issues concerning participation, needs, social capital, the economy, the environment, and more recently, with the notions of happiness, well-being, and quality of life. Therefore, any regeneration policy aiming at social sustainability should tackle physical, social, economic, and environmental issues together. Therefore, any policy of urban regeneration should be a mix of the following approaches. First one, property-led physical approach, where, for example, a major retail-led or mixed-use scheme is expected to have multiplier effects in the economy. The second one is business-driven approach, which highlights the importance of undeserved markets, particularly in inner city areas, as important foci for regeneration through business investment. Third one is urban form and design perspective, which highlights the importance of the relationship between sustainable development and urban form and also protecting the urban identity and culture. Then there is cultural industries approach, which stresses the importance of creative and cultural media industries as vehicles for regeneration. Another is health and well-being perspective, which highlights the role that well-designed spaces can have on neighborhood health and livability. And the last one is community-based social economy approach, which highlights the importance of involving local communities in decision-making and developing social capital networks. Thus, the major challenge before the urban regeneration policy is to adopt a socially sustainable approach so that the regeneration is justifiably benefiting the urban residents in present as well as future time periods. So students, let us summarize what we have learned from this module. To sum up, it can be stated that urban regeneration is a multifaceted and complex process which should not be viewed merely as a physical and financial proposition, but as a sociological, cultural, economic, and political matter as well. In this sense, it is a comprehensive and integrated process. It therefore appears that a realistic regeneration program must approach regeneration in a holistic way and be based upon a multidisciplinary understanding of the social and economic forces affecting urban areas and the physical nature of towns and cities. That's all with today's lecture. I hope you must have enjoyed it. Thank you.